Welcome to the viewers. I am Dr. Chitaguppi from KAS and IAS Study Circle, Dharwad. Because of the spread of the COVID-19, lockdown has been declared. The aspirants for competitive examination, it is a golden opportunity for your preparation. Hence, to enrich the students, the institution is bringing a series of lectures on different subjects which can be beneficial to the aspirants for their preparation. Welcome once again all. Today we are discussing about the subject history. History is one of the subjects which has created a lot of phobia among the students. Remembering the dates, the events, names, so on, has created the fear in the minds of the aspirants. To remove such phobia and to simplify the subject, a right approach is necessary. So, in this class, we are going to study some of the basic concepts of the history, which will be helpful for the students to study and prepare well for this subject. As you know that history is one of the important subjects at all the types of examination and at all the levels. Hence, the right approach is very necessary. So here I will try to simplify some of the concepts of the history here, which has brought a lot of dilemma in the student's mind. To begin, what is history? If this question is asked to the students, the answer will be, it is a study of the past. It is the study of the achievements of the people of the past. Yes, history is a systematic study of the past human achievements in different fields: wars, administration, religion, literature, art, architecture, so on and so forth. A systematic study of this is history. It is said that Greeks are the pioneers in developing this subject. 5th century BC, Greek historian Herodotus, he recorded the contemporary history. A record was maintained by him relating to the Greco-Persian Wars, and that book was called as the Histories or the Persian Wars. So hence, here Herodotus came to be regarded as the father of history. Later we find Greek kings, whenever they went on the wars, they were accompanied by the record keepers. What they have done in the wars, what is their victories, what are their achievements. For example, when Greeks invaded India in the 4th century BC under the king Alexander the Great, along with him we had a record keeper by name KAS, who maintained all the records of Alexander's victories, and that is the source for us to know about the Alexander's achievements. So like this, Greeks were the pioneers of that. However, coming to Indian history, the Indian history can be studied very systematically by classifying it into 3 parts, or we call it as the periodization in history, namely the ancient Indian history, medieval Indian history, and the modern Indian history. So we are going to classify this into 3 parts: ancient, medieval, and modern. So, however, the students who are mainly interested to take up the state level examinations, they have to also concentrate at the same time in these parts their respective regional history, the local history. For example, Karnataka students must give also importance to the Karnataka history also. So, if you look at this, mainly the classification of history, duration wise, which if we take, what is the duration of the each period? So, ancient period covers around about approximately 3500 BC to 1206 AD. That is the beginning of the ancient Indian history. So, the medieval part will be studied from 1206 to 1707 AD. From 1707 to 1950 will be the modern history. Duration what we take, the duration of the Indian history, 3500 BC to 1950, we are going to classify it in these three parts. The beginning, if you start with the subject wise, if you take it, so we commence the ancient Indian history from Indus Valley Civilization. This is the first topic which is there in the history. Indus Valley Civilization to the establishment of the Muslim rule in India. Up to the Muslim rule establishment, we study the ancient part. Medieval part is mainly the rule of the Muslim dynasties in the India. So hence it is also called as the Muslim rule in India. Then in the modern period, we have advent of different Europeans to India, then colonization of India by the British and the freedom struggle by the Indians to achieve independence. So in the third part, we are going to study this. So subject wise, this is mainly how Indian history is classified. Now, before we take up here the study of each of the part and the topics, there are some of the concepts in the history which are to be understood for the students. Like, if you notice, I have said that Indian history starts from Indus Valley Civilization. The question is, why the history starts from Indus Valley Civilization? So, if this question is asked, we get different types of answers. But one answer, accurate answer, definite answer that is to be given is, we commence the history from Indus Valley Civilization because it is from this period we have got the writing evidence. Where writing starts, history starts. Otherwise, India has got a culture older to this. But the earliest writing evidence comes from Indus Valley Civilization, so we start the history from there. The rest of the history, we call it as prehistory. Purva Itihasa, the prehistory. It is known as the prehistory. So, which includes the period of the Stone Age, like Old Stone Age, Middle Stone Age and the New Stone Age. Or the most here specific terminology is used, Paleolithic, Mesolithic and the Neolithic. And extensive study of our Indian prehistory has been made by a scholar called Bruce Foote, who is known as the father of Indian prehistory. So, but as our syllabus is about mainly the history part, so we start from Indus Valley Civilization where the writing evidences is available. So that is why the history commences with this here, mainly the topic. This is the first thing that has to be understood by the students. Secondly, if you notice, for dating purpose we have used these alphabets BC and AD. So usually if I ask the question, what do you understand by the term BC? The answer comes out is before Christ. And what is Here meant by here AD. Here the answer will be here Anno Domini. So, but if I ask you what you mean by the term Anno Domini, which is a Latin phrase. Anno Domini means it is the birth of Christ, the year of the Lord, from where the Christian calendar starts. And this BC and AD has been used extensively for dating purpose. So BC, the dating is done in a descending order, whereas in AD, the dating is done in ascending order. So for the convenience, here throughout the world this system has been carried out. Hence, this period is also known with another terminologies, two alphabets, CE, Common Era. The Common Era. So like if you come across in your newspapers, magazines, you may come across BCE. BCE means before Common Era. If it is only CE, it is Common Era. So that is another terminology used for mainly the year AD and BC. So this is for convenience throughout the world it has been mainly adopted. But however, there are nations which have their own year counting methods, their own year. For example, in India, the Indian calendar is prepared on the Shalivahana Shaka, which is our national year. Shalivahana Shaka is the national year which commences from 78 AD. So Shalivahana Shaka is lagging behind 78 years of the Christian era. So here the mainly Shalivahana Shaka here was started by the Kushana king Kanishka. But there are controversies to tell that it was started by Shatavahana king Hala, or it was one of the Shaka king Shalivahana. There is a lot of controversies. But the most accepted here is Kanishka started the Shalivahana Shaka, which has been used right from ancient time till today for the dating purpose. Suppose if you say even today 220 or 2020, it is AD. So if you want to get the Shalivahana Shaka, here you have to minus 78 out of this. So you will be getting here the Shalivahana Shaka. Today, many of the auspicious ceremonies are mainly dated in this Shalivahana Shaka. So this is our Indian here mainly calendar which has been used. So for example, in our ancient texts, here in the records of like inscriptions or on the coins, we have Shalivahana Shaka dating. To give one just example, one of the famous inscription which comes from Aivali in Bagalkot district, belonging to the period of the Badami Chalukya king Pulikeshin II, is dated in 556 Shalivahana Shaka. The date is Shalivahana Shaka there. So if at all you want to convert it, add 78 to it, you will come to know it will be 634 AD. So this is the system. How we are mainly the dating, and this is a very popular dating system which has been used in our ancient period. Till today we are using it. So the records of India have been dated either in this Shalivahana Shaka, or there are certain new eras started by the kings as a mark of their coronation. Like for example, the earliest era which is noticed in India is 58 BC, Vikrama era, started by King Vikramaditya of Ujjain. Then it is Shalivahana Shaka 78 AD. Followed by that 320 AD, Gupta era, started by Chandragupta the first. Likewise, here Harshavardhana 606 AD started the Harsha Shaka. a Karnataka king belonging to the Chalukyas of Kalyan, or they are called as the later Chalukyas, Vikramaditya VI, on the eve of his coronation started the era called Chalukya Vikrama era, which commences from 1076 AD. Like this, these are also used for the dating. Along with this, if you look at the Muslim records of India, they are dated in AH. AH is, that is Al-Hijra Shakar. Al-Hijra Shakar, which is an event which took place in the life of Prophet Muhammad in 622 AD. That is his journey from Makkah to Medina, called as Al-Hijra Shakar. So Muslim records have been dated in this here Al-Hijra Shakar. Like this, Indian records, we can find that this dating system has been used. So students must be well acquainted with the use of those, mainly the alphabets in front of the dates, which will help them to determine to which period the record belongs or when the event took place. So this is another thing which the students have to look into this. Followed by this, now we are coming to another concept of the Indian history, that is, when did the study of Indian history start? This is the question. I am not asking you here, when did the Indian history starts? Indian history starts, as we have seen, around about 3500 BC. But my question here is, viewers, that when the study of Indian history started. So a systematic study of Indian history. It is said that Indians lacked the historical consciousness, awareness. Think, suppose like the Greeks, if we have recorded our past events and if this had been made known to the world, today in many fields we would have been the pioneers. Whether it is in the field of science of mathematics, whether it is in the field of here the science of astronomy or mainly other subjects. But the lack of the historical awareness among the Indians, we were unable to put to the world our mainly the achievements. So this lack was overcome here during the modern period when the Britishers here came to India. So Britishers took interest in the study of the Indian history, and 1784 at Calcutta, Sir William Jones established the Bengal Royal Asiatic Society, by which the study of the Indian history started. It is from this organization took the interest in the study of the Indian history. So we come across William Jones here tried to know the Indian history to the help of the epigraph. Epigraph means inscription. Hence, William Jones is called as the father of Indian epigraphy. He is known as the father of the Indian epigraphy. Shasana Shastrada Pitamaha anteli karitaru. William Jones. Likewise, in the history of Karnataka, the study of the inscription was initiated by B.L. Rice, Benjamin Louis Rice, who is called as the father of Karnataka epigraphy. So this, mainly the study of the Indian history started. Later we find it was one of the scholar by name James Prinsep deciphered the two ancient scripts of India, Brahmi and Kharoshthi. It was in 1836-37 he deciphered it. So which helped the mainly here the scholars to know about our ancient texts and also to mainly study our history. Followed by this 1861, the ASI was established, Archaeological Survey of India, with Alexander Cunningham as the director. So this archaeology here Survey of India took the initiation in the excavation activities, protection of the monuments, which are the sources for our study, which we are going to discuss here later. So they took the interest in these, mainly the activities. So we come across that the Archaeological Survey of India here came into existence in 1861. Hence, Alexander Cunningham is being called as the father of Indian archaeology. Like this, many Britishers have contributed. Later on, we come across a scholar by name, a historian by name, Mortimer Wheeler, who has done an extensive study here on mainly the civilizations of India. Followed by John Marshall was one of the pioneer to excavate the Indus Valley civilization. Mortimer Wheeler studied about Indus Valley civilization. Like this, we come across 19th century saw the progress in the study of the Indian history. So like this, the Indian history here study was started very late. As such, we were unable to here mainly make ourselves here a place in the world history. Otherwise, as I mentioned, we would have been today at the top here in many of the arenas. So keeping this in view, here to study the history, to know about history, what is most essential? So to know the history, the most essential thing is here the sources. The sources are most important for the study of the history. So as Herodotus mentions that no sources, no history. So without any here sources, we cannot write the history. For example, in our, if you here go through the Indian history, we find lot of here mainly here the controversies because of this different interpretation of the records. And there we cannot speak about some of the here the parts of our history. We cannot speak about some of the period of our history because of the lack of sources. Where there is lack of sources, this period is called as the dark period in the history. It is known as the dark period. For example, just an example I will be giving you. We come across the rule of the Pallavas was in Tamil Nadu was from 3rd century AD to 9th century AD. However, 3rd century to 6th century AD, the records of Pallavas are not clear to us. It is called as the dark period. After 6th century, the records become clear and we are able to know about the Pallava history. So, like this, we have got many such examples to show that here mainly there are mainly the lack of sources. So very systematically here these sources has to be excavated. So in one way, if we are to say, it is the responsibility of the public, it is the responsibility of the people here to protect these here sources which are very precious to know our past. But however, we ourselves have distorted these sources because of lack of our the awareness. For to give how we are responsible for this dissection, that we will be here, we can give the examples. For example, 1915, when Musky inscription in Raichur district was discovered, which is the most important inscription because where the name of Ashoka here comes, King Ashoka, the Mauryan ruler. So here, this inscription, when it was discovered by Charles Baden in 1915, he noticed that this mainly on a stone boulder, here this inscription was carved, and we noticed that cow dung cakes were applied for the drying on this inscription, which here was the because of the lack of the awareness. What is the importance of that inscription? Like this. Today, if we go to here any monuments, ancient monuments, we find a lot of names engraved. These are what the people do here, they mainly carve their names on the walls, on the pillars to show that they have a right. So it is not so we are destroying our mainly the valuable sources, which will be helpful to reconstruct in one way or the other the history. So these are to be protected. So the sources are very important to know the history. So the sources are broadly classified. We find it broadly classified into two parts, mainly archaeological sources and literary sources. We have broad two classifications, archaeological sources and literary sources. Further, archaeological sources includes the epigraphs, the numismatics, the monuments and the relics. These are the archaeological sources which we have to know. So why these things are very necessary to know here, because when we study the history, you will be coming across all these examples. You will come to know what is important. So at the beginning, you should understand these concepts of history. And literary sources is again classified into two parts, Indian accounts or indigenous accounts and the foreign accounts. So again we have the two parts in the literary sources. So this is the broad classification of the sources. Now just briefly we will try to understand each type of the source. So this gives you a complete picture here about the history at the beginning there. So if you study this, mainly the concepts, each concept here, mainly from here, we will come to know that this here will be easy for the study of the history. Well, in the archaeological sources, here the first one is the epigraphs. Another very simple word used for the epigraphs is inscriptions. So what do you mean by this term inscriptions? Inscription means engraved writings on any hard material. Usually in our ancient period, we find the writings were engraved here on the stones or on the copper plates. So we can have the here copper plate inscriptions or the stone inscriptions. The oldest inscriptions in India belong to the Mauryan king, here Ashoka. So round about we can say 3rd century BC. He was the king who mainly started engraving these inscriptions. Popularly we call that mainly edicts of Ashoka. Edicts means royal order. So the inscriptions are in the form of the royal order to his subordinates and to his people. So this is the beginning of the study of the inscriptions. And the study of these inscriptions was first mainly done in 1784, as which I have mentioned here by Sir William Jones. He was responsible for the study of the inscriptions of India and he is called as the father of Indian epigraphy. And taking the copy of the inscription from these hard materials, this method is called as estampage method, which is a very tedious job to obtain this, mainly the copy of the inscriptions. So we have today these inscriptions here published here in the book called Epigraphic Indica, and followed by this here state-wise epigraphic here books are introduced. Like we have got a Carnatic epigraphy for Karnataka here and so on for the other states. So but at the national level we have got Epigraphic Indica there, where we have all the inscriptions so far discovered published there. So this is one of the important source here, mainly to study our history, by which we can here mainly come to know about the religious policy, the wars, the administrative policy, the extent of the empire, the titles of the kings, the names of the rulers, the name of the contemporary rulers. So we can get a lot of information from this, mainly the epigraphs. And usually epigraphy is called as a primary source because they are permanent in nature. They are mainly here having that permanency. They are not, cannot be destroyed easily. Secondly, here we can notice that inscriptions are very brief. Here they give out the historical facts than which we depend on literary sources. In literary sources we have the flatter and the praise, but in inscriptions we cannot have such flatter and praise. And lastly, the inscriptions are contemporary in nature. So as such we call them as the primary source. Followed by this we have the numismatics. Numismatics are the coins. So right from ancient period the coins have been used, which are made out of different metals like gold, silver, copper, bronze, so on. And the coins have also helped us to know about mainly the history. They also have revealed certain here the facts of our history which could not be known from other sources. For example, if we today take here the one of the Muslim ruler by name Alauddin Khilji had the title as Sikandar Sani. Sikandar Sani means the second Alexander. This is not recorded in any of the literature. It is only here from his gold coin alive the title is known to us. So this is like this, which is not here revealed from the other sources. Numismatics have revealed the here mainly the here information. So they also form here mainly one of the source. And today the government has taken to establish numismatic societies where the preservation, conservation and the study of the numismatics is made. Followed by this monuments. Monuments here are the structures of the past, which can be broadly classified into two parts as religious monuments and secular monuments. We can find these two types of monuments. Religious monuments includes temples, basatis, mosques, churches, stupas, chaityas, gurudwaras, synagogues. Like this, we have the religious monuments. Whereas secular monuments include the forts, cities, palaces, watchtowers, followed by this the tombs. They are all included in the secular or here monuments. So monuments today we find are the structures belonging to our ancient period, and they are called as the mirrors of the past. So we can understand a lot of here information from this here monuments. Like we can speak about the popularity of the religion. The sculptures on the monuments will help us to know about the dresses, ornaments used during their period. Along with that, monuments have also here revealed the military architecture, the growth of the military architecture in India. Followed by this, we can say about here the monuments worked as the educational institutions. So different aspects can be understood from the monuments. And the preservation of the monuments is today mainly here undertaken by ASI, that is Archaeological Survey of India. This organization is taking the preservation of the monuments. So like this, the monuments are also the source for us. Followed by the relics. Relics are the remains of the past. So whatever we find in the excavations and which are not included in the above three here categories, here we call them as the relics. So it may be like the weapons, the agricultural implements, here the paintings. So anything that we find here, apart from these three, here are the relics. They are mainly the relics here which have been discovered. They are known as the artifacts. This is the word we use, the artifacts. So with the help of these artifacts also we can understand here our past. The excavation activities are today are carried out by the Archaeological Survey of India, and whatever has been here excavated, here discovered, that has been well preserved in the archaeological museums. Just to give an example, here 1921, as you know that the Indus Valley Civilization was the outcome of the excavations carried out by Archaeological Survey of India under the directions of John Marshall, Dayaram Sahani and R.D. Banerjee. So excavations have revealed the cities which have been buried. So like this, excavations also form one of the important by which we can get the relics and we can try to understand the history there. So epigraphs, numismatics, monuments and the relics, they are all categorized as the archaeological sources. Literary sources are the writings of our past. So as you know that the Indian history starts, we have studied that from Indus Valley Civilization, and the writings are present of Indus Valley Civilization. However, Indus Valley script is an undeciphered script. Undeciphered means unread script. So yet we are unable to give what is the nature of the script of Indus Valley Civilization. Just we say that it is a pictorial script, pictographic script, represented through pictures. So the writings are not yet deciphered. However, the oldest writings which are deciphered in India are belonging to the Vedic period. Vedic period, we have got the deciphered writings, the writings which are right. And the writings are broadly classified into two categories, Indian records and the foreign records. Indian records are those which are mainly written by the Indians, like we come across, it may be the Vedas, the epics Ramayana and Mahabharata, the Upavedas, the Upanishads, Kautilya's Arthashastra, Kalidasa's works, Harshavardhana's works, like this. These are all what we have got the Indian records. They have been written by the Indians there. So which we included in the Indian records. But foreign records are also very helpful to know the Indian history. Now whom we can call as a foreigner? Foreigner is a person who has come here to India from another place and stayed in India for a temporary period and has returned back. So the record he has left is mainly called as the foreign record. It is mainly the foreign record we call it as. So the foreign records also throw light on our Indian history, which are broadly classified into three categories or the three parts. The records of the envoys, the records of the envoys, the records of the pilgrims and the records of the travelers. So the records of the envoys means the records that have been here mainly done by the ambassadors who have come to India. Just to give one example, during the period of Chandragupta Maurya, we had a Greek ambassador coming to India by name Megasthenes, and his indica is a foreign account. Likewise, pilgrim accounts, where pilgrims have come to India and they have left the impressions on India. Like we have the Buddhist pilgrims Fayan and Huensang. Huensang's famous book Siyuki is a foreign account and it is a pilgrim account. In the same way, traveler account, many travelers have visited India. The travelers have come to India and they have stayed in India for a temporary period. After they return, they have mainly written about the Indian history. To quote one of the best traveler account what we have is the 11th century traveler from Central Asia, Al-Biruni, who came to India, stayed in India for 6 years and has written the book on India called as Kitab-ul-Hind. It is a travel account. So like this, the Indian accounts and the foreign accounts mainly are helpful to rewrite the history there. They help us to know about mainly the history there. But however, while here deciphering the literary sources, while taking the literary sources for the study of the history, the historians have to be very careful, because the history here, the literature is here filled with bias. The literature is filled with praise, it is filled with the flatter. Hence, it is the historian who has to mainly remove these defects of the literature and take the historical truth and present the history there. So these are the sources which are to be mainly studied here, and with the help of these sources we can reconstruct the history there. So today we are going to conclude here mainly on sources, and in the next class here we will try to take another topic and try to analyze here on that subject here. So stay at home here and get enriched.